What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome to the start of week 11. Starting a little earlier today, so appreciate everybody's flexibility. Moving this stream up today. I have a hard stop of 7:30 East. There's a watch party for this game that I am headed out to, so I got to head out a little earlier today. But I wanted to make sure I still maximize the time and got the same amount of time that I typically spend with you guys on Thursday night. So just kicking it up to 5:30 East as the start time as opposed to 6 o'clock. So around for a couple hours to talk shop ahead of Eagles Commanders. Should be a really good game. Should be a good one. If you have start-sit questions that pertain to tonight's game, we'll go over those. We'll go around, of course, the latest round of injury updates and practice reports that we have across the league. And I'll give a general TNF preview as always. And guys that should be in your starting lineup, somebody who might be on the flex radar, and then anybody who is worth leaving on the bench. Let's get into. We'll start with just a general overview of TNF. There are a lot of obvious decisions that are in this game, but there's a few different ones where, you might be between certain players and some of the fringe options coming into this game. And then we'll get into injuries. We'll start with the obvious names who are not coming out of your lineup for any reason. There's not really a need to spend a whole lot of time on these guys. Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, and Terry McLaurin, I would say, are all must starts. Even Terry in a bad matchup by the numbers. The Eagles are holding opposing wide receivers to a small amount of fantasy production on a per-game basis. But with what we've seen from the Washington offense this year, there is no reason to take Terry out of your lineup. He remains a wide receiver too, although we probably have to temper expectations a little bit. Saquon, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, all must starts. Brian Robinson and Devontae Smith are on the fence. Brian Robinson has missed the past couple of games due to a hamstring injury, but he's off the injury report heading into this big NFC East showdown. The problem is he is coming back at a bad time given the matchup. This is not a great spot. The Eagles are holding. Generally, opposing offenses across the board are struggling against the Eagles of late. But the Eagles have been one of the stingiest run defenses in the NFL over the past 3 weeks, and on the season in general, they're a bad matchup. They are a top 5 defense against the run. So as to say, that is a bottom 5 matchup for fantasy purposes. You do not feel great about your running backs or anybody in particular, but especially your running backs going against the Philadelphia Eagles. And on a short week, that makes it difficult to trust Brian Robinson. He has been an RB. He's had RB1 stretches this year. He more aligns on the RB2 radar. You may not have a better option than a healthy Brian Robinson, but it's difficult to feel good about his chances tonight, especially in his first game coming back. You would think Austin Eckler sees a little bit more work in Robinson's return, especially if Washington is trailing in this game. Devontae Smith is a little up and down and can be difficult to trust. I do think this is a matchup, though, where you can feel confident about firing him up. There can and probably should be some fireworks between these two offenses, which leaves Devontae Smith very much in play. Last week, just 2 catches for 14 yards. Not a total. It was obviously a disappointing outcome, but not so unexpected. By nature of the beast, a team that blows out its opponent, a team's wide receiver 2 is going to have a tougher time, especially when a team's wide receiver 1 is balling out and there's not really a whole lot of volume necessary for the offense to handle their business. And that's what happened with the Eagles in Dallas last week against a left-for-dead Cowboys team. But he has Devontae delivered in favorable matchups recently. He was the wide receiver 11 week 9 in a great matchup against Jacksonville, and he was the wide receiver 8 in a great matchup on the road against Cincinnati. This is a good matchup by the numbers tonight at home against Washington. And again, we're expecting some points here. I don't think that, the Eagles were able to easily handle the Cowboys. That's not going to be the case with Washington. Washington's a damn good football team, and this should be a really good game. Devontae Smith is viable tonight. He can be volatile. He's a little boom bust, but he's overall pretty safe. Any given week, you can expect either 6 or 7 catches from him or above 75 yards receiving. And half the time, he will give you both of those numbers. I think tonight is a decent chance where you get the 7-catch, 85-yard output for Devontae Smith, and you feel perfectly fine with him as a strong wide receiver 2 play for your lineup. Austin Eckler, tough to trust with Brian Robinson back. Noah Brown and Zach Ertz are a little are tough to trust. Again, this is a tough matchup. The ancillary options in the Washington offense are more difficult to trust. And I guess speaking of tight ends, Dallas Goedert. Goddard is somebody you can fire up as I guess he's a low-end tight end 1, but he needs to score to come through. I think he only received 3 targets last week. He converted 1 into a score. Yeah, 2 catches, 25 yards on 3 targets, but he caught a touchdown, so he was the tight end 7 on the week. Goddard you can go to Goddard as a low-end tight end 1. You're hoping for 9 or 10 points in this matchup. I think that covers the start-sit options for Thursday night. Saquon, AJ, Jalen Hurts, none are coming out of your lineup. Jaden Daniels isn't coming out of your lineup. And I don't think Terry McLaurin could come out of your lineup unless you're going to need to have really strong wide receivers to consider moving off of Terry. I just think he's, even in a bad matchup, a difficult player to move off of, especially in leagues where you start 3 wide receivers. Brian Robinson, I would hope you have better options, but you might not, and he has given you RB2 plays. It's just this is a brutal matchup on a short week on the road. Devontae Smith, I think you can fire up as a wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside. This should be a shootout tonight. Guys like Goddard, low-end tight end 1, Ertz, more of a tight end 2, Eckler, Noah Brown, Jahan Dotson, Diami Brown. You can't trust any one of these guys. They are revenge games for Jahan Dotson and Zach Ertz. These are not scenarios where I'm necessarily chasing that, though. Those guys are difficult to trust. All right, that's Thursday night. Let's get into the latest injury updates that we have, and then I will start taking your questions. And just as a reminder, please do not spam the chat with multiple comments of the same question. I promise I will get to it. I am answering questions tonight. I will get to everybody. Appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out and your patience. I just want to work through the latest injury updates that we have in the event that they help answer a start-sit question that you yourself may have. I am starting with all updates as of today because yesterday's updates are officially dated. From this morning, Sam Laporta not seen participating in practice for the second straight day on Thursday. Laporta is not looking good for the Lions to suit up against Jacksonville. So Jamison Williams, Tim Patrick, these guys can figure to get more opportunities, increased opportunities in the passing game. This may not be a game where Detroit has to throw the ball all that much as it is. This is a dead Jacksonville Jaguars team without Trevor Lawrence. The Lions should have no problem handling their business in this game. I would be a little worried from a volume perspective, but if Laporta does not play and it's not looking good, Jamison Williams should see an extra opportunity or two, maybe 2 to 3, 2 to 4 new extra opportunities than he normally would. So hopefully he can come through with a big play. If you're relying on him as a high upside wide receiver 3, a boom bust wide receiver 3. Amon-Ra's not coming out of your lineup, obviously, with or without Laporta. And you probably feel pretty good about the running backs opportunities in this game, where Jacksonville is an absolute funnel in all phases of their defense. But Laporta, let's start planning to make other plans. Rico Dowdle is expected to see an increased role in the Cowboys offense. I don't know how much I expect that to happen. I'll believe it when I see it. Rico has clearly been the Cowboys' best running back this year, and yet they only give him about 40 to 50% of the snaps any given week. Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook and Deuce Vaughn, Hunter Lipke all continue to mix in. We'll see if it actually comes to fruition. The Cowboys probably, it would be in their best interest to run the ball as much as they can, shorten the game, and rely on their quarterback as little as possible, because that's the situation that they're in. We'll see if it actually comes to fruition. I don't know that Rico's stock is that much. It's not lower with this news. I don't know how much higher it is, though. We have to actually see him get 70% of the snaps for us to actually give Rico a boost. However, this vote of confidence is a good sign for him if you do have Rico Dowdle. Amari Cooper expects to play Week 11. He's difficult to trust, though, even without Keon Coleman, and they'll likely be without Dalton Kincaid as well. He is not practicing after picking up a knee injury last week. Not practicing for the second straight day is Dalton Kincaid. If you have Dalton Kincaid, or maybe you have Cade Otton or Trey McBride on bye this week, and you are unsettled at tight end, Dawson Knox is a not-so-sneaky, maybe sneaky, but not-so-sneaky streamer for me. I think he finishes as a low-end tight end 1 this week. Kansas City is giving up elite production to opposing tight ends. That is one of the weaknesses of their defense. Tight ends have success against them. Dawson Knox in a full-time role without Keon Coleman or Dalton Kincaid is looking like a rock-solid streamer this week. I would pick him up if you haven't settled your tight end situation for Week 11. Michael Pittman is fully practicing for the second straight day on Thursday. This coming, of course, after Anthony Richardson was announced as the Colts quarterback for the rest of the season. We'll see if that actually holds true for more than a couple of weeks. The Colts can't seem to figure out what they want to do on offense, but they're going to keep trying. But Pittman would obviously give a boost to the Colts offense and Anthony Richardson in general. It is impossible to predict what is going to happen with this Colts offense. If you feel like you have to start Michael Pittman or Josh Downs, just close your eyes, don't watch the game, and hope for the best. The Pittsburgh Steelers backfield is in flux. Jaylen Warren practiced in full on Wednesday, and Najee Harris didn't practice on Wednesday. Those roles were reversed today. Najee Harris practiced in full on Thursday. That was a good development. Jaylen Warren was added to the injury report today with a back injury. That is not a good development. So let's keep things, let's monitor the Steelers' backfield situation over the next couple of days. Jaylen Warren was looking like an intriguing flex play this week at home against Baltimore after receiving a solid, I think, 16 different opportunities last week and looking good with those opportunities. Getting added to the injury report in the middle of the week is not the update that we wanted, though, for Jaylen Warren. So let's keep tabs on that. Tank Bigsby not practicing for the second straight day on Thursday. We could be looking at a backfield that goes back to primarily Travis Etienne. However, it is impossible to trust this Jaguars offense with Mac Jones under center. Devontae Adams not practicing for the second straight day on Thursday, dealing with an illness and a wrist injury. His Friday practice status will be important for his availability this weekend. So let's keep an eye on that. Isaiah Pacheco limited in practice today. I don't think Pacheco is going to make his return to action this week. This is just good news for his return to the field eventually, return to play eventually. It'll be another week of Kareem Hunt against the Buffalo Bills in all likelihood, but Pacheco's return appears to be imminent. I would think within the next month. Again, it was a 21-day practice window that was opened because he was on injured reserve. So I don't think we're going to see Pacheco this week. I would be surprised if we saw him next week, to be honest, as well. But obviously, Kareem Hunt's hold on the Chiefs' backfield, those days are probably numbered. I do not believe that Isaiah Pacheco is necessarily going to just take this backfield over, though, by the fantasy playoffs. I think Kareem Hunt will still be viable at that time. T. Higgins limited in practice. We'll see. That's all I have about T. Higgins. If you're relying on T. Higgins, I don't have an answer at this point. I don't think anybody does. We just have to wait and see if he's going to actually be active on game day or not. He's difficult to trust. Jake Ferguson not practicing Thursday with an illness, so something to monitor. A guy that is difficult to trust even if he is healthy, to be honest, with Cooper Rush in there. Ferguson is approaching drop territory. If you have Cade Otton or Trey McBride or Dalton Kincaid and also Jake Ferguson, then you might as well just fire Ferguson up and hope for the best if he plays. After this week, though, if that's your situation, you can drop Jake Ferguson. The Cowboys' offense is in the toilet, probably for the rest of the season. Nico Collins, Dameon Pierce practicing on Thursday for the Houston Texans. Nico Collins is on track to make his return. We are firing up Nico Collins on Monday night. I know it is dicey once again to deal with an injured star on Monday Night Football and limited options available to you if Nico Collins ultimately cannot go. But the vibes all week, dating back to the start of the week, is that Nico Collins would practice this week and make his return on Monday. That is what we have been told. That is what has been reported. And so far, they are delivering on that in the form of Nico Collins getting in practices this week. We can expect him to return against the Dallas Cowboys on Monday night, and we will be starting Nico Collins. The last piece of info I have here is that Harrison Butker could be going on injured reserve. I don't know if that's definitive yet, but he's expected to miss a couple of weeks with a knee injury. I believe it was Tom Pelissero, NFL Network, to report that. Harrison Butker to undergo surgery will miss 3 to 4 weeks. It is possible that Harrison Butker goes on injured reserve. So if you have Harrison Butker at kicker, if he officially goes on IR, there is no need to hold him. You can drop him and pick somebody else up. See if Jake Moody is out there. Jake Moody just returned from an IR stint and is kicking for the San Francisco 49ers once again. Tyler Bass, Jason Sanders, any one of these guys is worth a grab if you had Harrison Butker and now need to pivot for a couple of weeks while he recovers from this knee surgery. He is probably not worth a hold. I can't stand the idea of rostering 2 kickers. Butker can be dropped, especially if he's on injured reserve. Be prepared to make other plans at least for this week, and it's looking likely that'll be longer than that for the Chiefs kicker. All right. Those are the latest injury updates that I have. Just checking to see if there are any others, and then I will get into your questions. Appreciate everybody's patience. Hopefully some of these updates help make a decision as it pertains to your starting lineup. And that's all I have. So let's get into it. What's going on, Crumply Heads? Good to see you. I did see that you posted your lineups in Discord, so we will get to that. If you have a lot of options on Thursday, we can take a look. I see Tyler sent us super. Appreciate that, Tyler. Appreciate the support. So happy to take this question again. Let me throw the banner up just so that everybody is fully aware, and hopefully this helps. Member questions, that is a perk. This is a perk of being a member of the channel. Will get answered in priority order. As will supers if you're feeling so inclined or feeling generous. You don't have to, but if you do send a super, that'll be a line jumper, and then I will get to everybody else. So I just ask for some patience as I work through any member questions and supers first. Whether you are a member or whether you send a super or not, if you are enjoying the conversation, the dialogue, all that good stuff, I only ask that you consider liking the stream. That helps me out for algorithm purposes. Appreciate that in advance. Is it okay to start Hurts, A.J. Brown, and the Commanders kicker? First of all, yes, you're absolutely starting Hurts and A.J., Tyler. I'm not worried about that, especially if you have them. If this is the same league, same matchup, that's a stack, with Hurts throwing the ball to A.J. Brown, so you want that regardless. Is Seibert kicking tonight? I thought I saw that he was out tonight, and I'm admittedly not 100% sure who their backup kicker is. Seibert is out tonight. Zane Gonzalez will start. I will tell you, Tyler, I don't hate starting a kicker on Thursday night. Generally speaking, Thursday night football, you see more field goal attempts on average. That is a known thing. That is a statistic. Kickers get on average a few more opportunities on Thursday night football than they do on a full day's rest, 7 days rest, and a week between games. Offenses tend to stall out a little bit more frequently on Thursday night football. So I actually love Jake Elliott tonight. If you have Jake Elliott, you should feel good about him. Zane Gonzalez, did he kick for them last week? I will say I don't know about a backup kicker, especially again in this matchup. Last week he kicked 2 field goals. One was from 48, and he kicked 3 extra points. This was a home game for Zane Gonzalez, though. Now he's on the road in a bad matchup against the Eagles. It's hard for me to endorse him, Tyler. It's hard to feel good about Zane Gonzalez. I will say, from the perspective of it being a bad matchup, that could mean that Washington moves the ball, but their drives stall out in the red zone or between the red zone and midfield, and therefore Zane is kicking 40-yard field goals. Obviously, that's a best-case scenario for anybody who rolls the dice on Zane Gonzalez. It's just tough. It's tough to trust him backup kicker in this matchup. That being said, Washington's offense is prolific enough where you could see them moving the ball and maybe stalling out here and there, and therefore setting Gonzalez up for some opportunities. I guess the last thing I would want to confirm, we are in November. What is the weather like in Philadelphia tonight? It is 46 degrees, wind 7 miles per hour. There's nothing scary about that. Those winds aren't severe enough or serious enough to want to move off of a kicker. You could go with Zane Gonzalez, Tyler. I don't know that I give him a full vote of confidence. Backup kicker in a bad matchup, but Thursday night generally is kinder to kickers than Sunday or Monday games are. So from that perspective, you could give it a whirl. You could give him a try. I guess you could do worse than Zane Gonzalez. The situation is actually probably somewhat favorable for him. You just are relying on the Commanders to move the ball in a tough spot division game on the road. They should be able to. No, I think you're fine. I think it's okay to do this, Tyler. I think you're good. And definitely Hurts and AJ, you're good. So, yeah. No, that works. Appreciate the Superman. Thank you so much. Crumply Heads has some lineup questions that he posted in my Discord, and they pertain to tonight's game. So I will quickly review those, and then I'm going to get to everybody else. T-Man, Jeff, Daniel, I see all your questions. Tommy, appreciate your patience. I will get to everybody. Let me just get to my member questions first. Let's see. Crumply Heads, you shared one of your rosters. Let's see. Yep, starting Terry. That makes sense. You can't start Devontae Smith over Nico Collins or Puka Nacua, and I don't think you can start him over Terry McLaurin either. Yeah, this is fine. This works. This looks good. Yeah. Okay. I only see one Crumbly. I only see one roster right now in there, so feel free to drop the others if they pertain to tonight's game. But I think what you have right now looks good. But feel free to drop another roster in Discord and we can get to it. All right, back up to the top. Start Jawan Jennings or Dobbins over Devontae Smith. If it's half PPR, honestly, even if it's full PPR, I would play Dobbins. I wouldn't play Jawan Jennings over him, but I would play Dobbins over Devontae Smith. I know Gus Edwards is back, but Dobbins still operated as the 1A for the Chargers last week, and it's a great matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday night. I would play Dobbins over Smith. Yeah. Jennings, no, but Dobbins, yes. Sutton or Ridley? Ridley gets the Minnesota Vikings. Sutton gets the Atlanta Falcons. Both are in pretty good spots, I would say, to deliver upside opportunity, their upside options for your lineup. That's tough. Minnesota's giving up good production to opposing wide receivers. And Sutton has the Falcons. They're giving up good production to opposing wide receivers. Minnesota is giving up a little less passing yards per game over the past 3 weeks than the Falcons. It's a home game for Calvin Ridley. It's a home game for Cortland Sutton. That's tough. I didn't mean to spend so much time on this, but these guys are neck and neck in the rankings. I would want to start both of them, and they're both in fantastic matchups. I would be curious to know who are your other guys that you're definitely starting, because I kind of want to start both of these guys. If you can't start both, I guess I would go Sutton, just because I guess I trust Bo Nix a little bit more than I trust Will Levis. But both of these dudes are in fantastic matchups, and both are deserving of being in your starting lineup. I would give the slightest of nods to Sutton, but honestly, it's razor thin. It's razor thin. Nix, I trust a little bit more, I guess, than Levis, and that's what tips the scales for me. But I wouldn't be afraid to play both of these guys if there's a way to get room in your lineup. We're starting Terry with confidence. I don't know that I would use the word did I use the word confidence earlier? I don't know if I actually would use the word confidence to say that I'm firing up Terry, but I don't think that we have too many better options than Terry McLaurin. So even in a bad matchup on the road on a short week, I think we have to play him. Washington's offense has been great this year. Terry has balled out. He is the clear-cut, bona fide alpha in the Commanders' passing game, in their pecking order. He should continue to command a 25 to 30% target share any given week and a first read target share any given week. Confidence, maybe I wouldn't say confidence, but he's been great, and he's too good of a player to take out of your lineup even in a bad spot. So confidence, I don't know. Lower expectations, but still in my lineup. Yes, I think that's the best way to describe it for Terry McLaurin. Lower expectations tonight, but still in my lineup. The Niners defense, who are playing Seattle, and I think it's a home game, or the Eagles tonight against Washington. Probably the 49ers. The Eagles defense is really good. They are. They're really good. But the Commanders offense is really good too. Seattle does get DK Metcalf back. And Seattle's coming off of their bye week, so they're rested going into that game. But it is a home game for San Francisco, and Seattle's offense doesn't strike fear, I don't think, the way that Washington's does, just because Jaden Daniels is so electric. I would probably say San Francisco. I would probably say San Francisco. And Tommy, Daniel, Andy, sit tight. I see your questions, but I just got a very generous super from Brad. Thank you so much, Brad. Appreciate that. And supers get priority responses, so I got to make sure I get to this. So I see everybody's questions. I promise I will get to them. But I gotta take care of the supers. Appreciate the support of the channel, Brad. Thank you so much. Let's see. You have Amon-Ra, you have DJ Moore, you have Waddle, you have Brian Thomas. You just picked up Myers, and Olave's on injured reserve. You have Saquon, you have Taylor, you have Hunt. Let's see. You could make a move, Brad. And the obvious answer here would be to look for an upgrade at wide receiver. However, I think Myers was a really good pickup. Over the past month, the Raiders were on bye this past week, but over the past month, Jakobi Meyers, I believe, is the wide receiver 15 in fantasy points per game. I don't recall if that's half or full PPR, or it might be both. But essentially, Jakobi Meyers is a strong wide receiver 2, borderlining on wide receiver 1, low-end wide receiver 1 production for the past 4 weeks. And obviously, with Davante Adams out of the picture, that's probably not going to change. With guys like Trey Tucker as the ancillary options behind Myers. Myers is far and away the most established wide receiver that the Raiders have. And for the rest of the season, that's not going to change. I'm obviously not talking about Bowers being a tight end. But Myers has been, since Davante Adams was traded, a strong wide receiver 2, borderlining on a low-end wide receiver 1. So you can rock with Amon-Ra and Jakobi Meyers if it's a start 2 wide receiver league moving forward. And then you still have Saquon Taylor. You have excellent running back depth. Hunt, I think, is perfectly viable, even though Pacheco got activated. The 21-day practice window got opened. But that's going to be like a slow ramp up. Isaiah Pacheco is not coming in week 12 next week and just like, I'm the captain now, Kareem Hunt, you're back to the bench for you. That's not going to happen. The Chiefs are going to ease him in and get him ready for the actual postseason, not the fantasy playoffs, the NFL playoffs. Kareem Hunt's going to remain viable. Nick Chubb, maybe a little difficult to trust. Rusty coming back from the devastating knee injury, but his playoff schedule, his schedule rest of season, honestly, they're coming out of their bye week, is amazing. So that's not bad. And then Tyrone Tracy on bye this week. Yeah, the Giants may go in the tank. Their offense might really stink for the rest of the year, but Tyrone Tracy's their starting running back, and he's going to get the volume. So I don't know that I necessarily want to trade any one of these running backs, take a hit with my running back depth, just to try to find an upgrade at wide receiver when you may have done that organically on the waiver wire by picking up Jakobi Meyers. I think you're fine. DJ Moore, I get it. Frustrating. Waddle, frustrating. Forgetful year, to be honest, for Jalen Waddle. Brian Thomas Jr. could be going in the toilet with Mac Jones potentially the rest of the way, although it is possible that Trevor Lawrence comes back after the Jaguars bye week. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition. DJ Moore, though, is currently your wide receiver 3, and his playoff schedule, I don't know if you've looked down the line a little bit, I assume are in good shape to make the playoffs since you have Saquon and Bowers at tight end. DJ Moore's playoff schedule is incredible. Caleb Williams and the Bears offense is impossible to trust right now, but if there's one thing to hang your hat on if you have a Bears wide receiver, their playoff schedule is incredible. I think you're actually good here, Brad. I don't think you need to make a move. If there's one thing I would maybe consider doing, and this might sound a little extreme, is maybe consider, could you trade Amon-Ra for another bona fide stud? Could you get Justin Jefferson for Amon-Ra straight up? Or A.J. Brown straight up? Amon-Ra's playoff schedule is a little hairy. You're obviously starting Amon-Ra no matter what if he's on your roster, even in bad matchups. But I will say his playoff schedule is a little less than ideal. Could you move Amon-Ra straight up for Justin Jefferson or A.J. Brown? If you could do that, I would kick the tires on that. If you could do A.J. Brown and Hopkins for Amon-Ra, I'm open to that. I'm definitely open to that because you're trading a stud for a stud and you're picking up a viable wide receiver 3, high upside wide receiver 3 with low end wide receiver 2, sometimes better than that wide receiver 2 upside in Hopkins. Yeah, I'm on board. I'm on board with that. That's the move that I would be perfectly fine making. Now your wide receivers are set. You didn't give up any running back depth. You can still fire 3 running backs per week, which is what you want to do when you have guys like Saquon, Taylor, Hunt, and Tracy, and I'll throw Chubb in there as well. And then you have a difference maker at tight end in Bowers. I think if you can pull that off, get A.J. Brown and Hopkins for Amon-Ra, get out from the potential bad schedule that Amon-Ra has for the fantasy playoffs, and you pick up A.J., I'm good with that. I like your team. You're 7-3. You're coasting to the playoffs. I don't think you need to do all that much, Brad. You built a good squad. Jacoby Myers was a great pickup. You're not relying probably on Waddle or Olave, and unfortunately Brian Thomas for the rest of the season if Trevor Lawrence is gone. But A.J. Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Jacoby Myers, and potentially DJ Moore as your wide receiver 4 with a great playoff schedule, I think you're set up for success. With that squad. Yep. And I would do that deal. Appreciate the super, Brad. Very kind of you. Let me know if I can help answer anything else. But appreciate the support of the channel. All right, let me get back up to my spot in line. It was this kicker question. Yeah, but so Butker is out. Again, in case you missed it, Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker is expected to miss a couple of weeks after undergoing knee surgery. It's possible it's up to 3 to 4 weeks, and an IR stint is possible. So it's basically a guarantee that we're not going to have Butker for at least this week if you have him make other plans. McManus is fine. That's probably where I would go against the Bears. I trust the Packers offense to move the ball against the Bears defense, but the Bears defense is good enough to maybe make the Packers stall out here and there for a drive or two and setting up McManus for a couple of field goal opportunities. Bates is perfectly fine in a game where the Lions are probably going to be padding a second half lead, and therefore they'll be perfectly fine settling for a field goal here and there in the second half. I think he's fine. Bates is perfectly fine. I don't know if I would necessarily worry about Will Lutz or Santos. I don't know if I trust Santos. The Bears offense is so difficult to trust with how bad they've been recently. I would go McManus for this week. I would go McManus. Packers offense is good. Bears defense is good. Packers offense should be good enough to move the ball. Maybe the Bears defense forces them to stall out, kick some field goals, kick a couple field goals. Yeah, McManus is fine for me. Take McManus. And then Disley or Knox. I think a lot of rankings, where whether you get your rankings from Yahoo or ESPN or CBS or you pay for a subscription, a lot of rankings are going to have Will Disley ahead of Dawson Knox. Not my rankings. This party of one is a big fan of Dawson Knox against the tight end funnel Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs have a really good defense, but they have one flaw. They can't cover the tight end. Opposing tight ends are killing them for fantasy purposes this year. And Dalton Kincaid has missed back-to-back practices after picking up a knee injury last week. It's not looking like Kincaid is going to play. And on top of that, Keon Coleman has already been ruled out. Dawson Knox will be the tight end 10 on the week. You heard it here first. He's going to be a really strong low-end tight end 1 play. You could pick him up for free. You probably didn't need to spend any FOB to get him. I like Dawson Knox this week. I do. Disley is Disley's a trendy pick. After he picked up 6 targets this past week, 5 catches for 30 yards. So it looks like he maybe has an expanded role with the Chargers. I don't know. Maybe I'm a sucker for nostalgia. Dawson Knox had a good year a couple of years ago. He's attached to Josh Allen, and it's a great matchup. But I like Knox. I do. I like Knox. I like Knox as a streamer this week. Your only other option is Tillman. Now, Tillman this is for Terry McLaurin. Tillman is interesting. He's got a beautiful matchup against the New Orleans Saints, and I think he's gonna have a really strong week. 25% first read target share since Jameis Winston was inserted and Amari Cooper was traded away. I mean, Tillman is in a fantastic spot. I would say Terry McLaurin is your floor play, if you think you can get away with maybe trying to get 9 or 10 points, 8 to 10 points in half PPR, might be full PPR as well, honestly, then I would play Terry. If you need to swing for the fences and play aggressive, I am okay with Tillman. If you need the aggressive play, I would say it's Tillman. The safe play is Terry McLaurin. So it depends on what you think you need. It's a matchup specific decision. Sanders is fine. Yeah. Miami's at home, I believe, against the Raiders. There's nothing scary about that matchup. Yeah, Sanders over Butker. I'm fine with that. Sanders instead of Butker. I'm good with that. I wouldn't play McPherson. He's not in a terrible spot, but the Chargers have a pretty good defense. And it's a road game for the Bengals. Plus, they're converting a lot of their opportunities into touchdowns, so that means fewer field goal attempts for McPherson, and he's been a little shaky. Sanders is fine. I'll take Sanders over Butker. And then let's see, the Broncos or the Chiefs. I'll take the Broncos. I'll take the Broncos. I like the Chiefs defense. I just don't want to play them against the Buffalo Bills. I don't want to play them against Josh Allen. Allen is definitely prone to making mistakes and turning the ball over, but he's also prone to running up the score, and not running up the score, but he could put a 40 burger on you any given week, even good defenses. I'm just not sure I trust the Chiefs in this matchup. I'll take the Broncos against Atlanta at home. Dome team coming outside. I'll take the Broncos. I would prefer like a team like the Packers if they're available, but they may have already been scooped off of waivers because they're playing the Bears. But I prefer the Broncos to the Chiefs for sure. If those are your options. Drop Aubrey or Tucker. You have two kickers? I mean, Aubrey is impossible to I can't sit Aubrey or move on from Aubrey. The Cowboys, obviously the Cowboys offense is the Cowboys offense is impossible to trust for the rest of the season. So that makes Aubrey a little bit more volatile. I guess I would keep Tucker. I mean, Aubrey has been so awesome, but that's with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's not coming back for the rest of the year. So Aubrey's a little more difficult to trust, although he did kick 2 more field goals this past week in a tough matchup. I would never want to have this decision to make, to be honest. I guess I would drop Aubrey without Dak and just try to hope that Tucker continues to stay consistent. He didn't have a good game against Cincinnati, but he had a good string of games prior to that game. And at least he's still got Lamar. So I guess Tucker. And if Higgins is out, I would play Jamison Williams over Jalen Waddle because Sam Laporta is probably not going to suit up for the Lions. So that adds an opportunity or two for Jamison Williams. Waddle, I mean, what has Waddle done this year? Waddle has done nothing. Jamison Williams at least has given us a few spike weeks. And this is another week where he's got a prime opportunity to do that. Jacksonville's defense is horrible. And Sam Laporta is not looking good for this week to play. So J-Mo's going to get a couple more looks, I would think. I would play Jamison Williams. I would plan to play J-Mo if Higgins is out. Waddle, we have no reason to believe in Jalen Waddle right now. I don't know if it's just the offense or if it's Tua or if it's him. I don't know. But I don't trust Jalen Waddle right now. I barely trust Tyreek Hill. Who do we add? Johnston, Adunze, or Demarcus Robinson? I mean, Quentin Johnston. Justin Herbert is playing well right now. The Chargers are throwing the ball more recently, and you figure that trend will continue against the Cincinnati Bengals offense that just scored 37 points on the road against Baltimore. I would take Quentin Johnston of those three. Odunze, bad offense right now, and Demarcus Robinson is a depth guy behind Puka and Kupp. I'll take Quentin Johnston. He's the closest thing to a starter on a good offense of this group, and attached to the best quarterback, at least right now. And real quick, Brad sent a very generous super, so I'm just going to quickly follow up with his question. No, keep Bowers. When you end up with a difference-making tight end, especially one that didn't cost you that much, Bowers was what, a 9th or 10th round pick for you this year? When you find a difference maker at tight end, that is gold. That is worth its weight in gold. And he just got past his bye week. And I'm not worried about the fact that the Raiders stink. They're going to keep rolling Bowers out there because he's a rookie. They want him to keep getting reps and experience. Like, if they, he's not going to get shut down, so to speak. No. I would not do Andrews and Hopkins for Andrews and Hopkins is not a bad return, but for the rest of the season, I'd rather have Bowers than Andrews, I think. I'd rather have Bowers than Andrews. Bowers has been so money. I think I would keep him. I mean, that's not a bad 2-for-1, but then you gotta drop somebody. Probably you gotta drop somebody to make space. I guess you would have had to drop somebody if you did Amon-Ra for AJ and Hopkins, but I'd rather not. Bowers has been so money. I know Andrews has come on strong recently, but that's an offense with a lot of weapons. Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. They added Deontay Johnson. Isaiah Likely is coming back. He's getting healthy. For the Raiders, it's just Bowers and Jacoby Myers. I think I'd rather keep Bowers. Personally. The 2-for-1 isn't bad, but you're going to have to cut somebody, and I would be curious to know who that would have to be. Let's see. 12-team Superflex, tight end premium, and a 6-point passing touchdowns. Hopkins, and this is standard scoring, so there's no PPR here. You have to start 3. I guess I would start Andrews over Hawkinson if you have to start a tight end. I would probably start Hopkins gets the Bills. Brian Robinson is against the Eagles tonight and standard scoring, so that inflates the running back. DJ Moore is difficult to trust right now. In standard scoring, tight end premium, I might roll the dice on Brian Robinson, even though I don't love this matchup. You're probably just hoping that he falls into the end zone. I think I would play Ladd McConkey. Ladd is trending up because the Chargers offense, the Chargers passing offense specifically, is trending up. And this is a matchup that you want to take advantage of because there could be some fireworks. The Bengals offense is good and the Bengals defense stinks. That is a recipe for success for anybody who is playing. If you have a player playing against the Cincinnati Bengals, you want to get them into your lineup because the Bengals offense is really good and puts the pressure on their opponent to score points, and their defense is awful, so it makes it easy for the opposing offense to score points. I would play Ladd McConkey. I would play Brian Robinson since it's standard scoring and hope for the best. And then since it's tight end premium, I guess I would tempted to roll the dice on Mark Andrews, even though it's a bad matchup by the numbers against Pittsburgh. But because it's tight end premium, That's a nice boost that the receivers are not getting. I think I would go. I think I would go those last three. I would go Ladd for the matchup. I would go Mark Andrews because it's tight end premium, and I think he's rounding into form over the past month. And then I'll take Robinson, even though it's not a great matchup, but standard scoring that's a little bit more favorable to running backs than it is receivers. And you would think that Washington is good enough to move the ball, drive the ball, one or two times down to the goal line, and then that puts Robinson in play for a touchdown. I would play those last three. I don't know what just happened, but I think we're back. Let me reload. All right. Sorry about that. I think we're good now. I think I froze for a second there, but I think we're good. Apologies. Good old technical fun. What is my opinion on Mike Williams' rest of season? So I prefer Trey Benson personally as a stash because the Cardinals have an excellent playoff schedule. I would want to know who your wide receivers are as well. Mike Williams is intriguing, I guess, but he remains a depth guy there. He caught a huge touchdown last week, but he's just not getting the regular usage. Trey Benson is a more intriguing guy for me as a stash, even with good running back depth, because he's getting more involved. That happened last week. He got some non-garbage time opportunities, and it's a fantastic playoff schedule for the Arizona Cardinals. So I would probably prefer to stash Trey Benson. And also do what you can to trade for James Conner. That goes for everybody. Do anything you can to trade for James Conner. The Cardinals playoff schedule is super favorable. So I prefer Benson as a stash. Mike Williams just doesn't have, he's going to be behind George Pickens. I guess he leapfrogs Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson, who is still a rookie finding his way. Yeah, I guess it's just, I don't know that we're necessarily feeling confident that we can rely on him. I like Benson as a playoff stash personally. I don't mind being even deeper at running back if I'm already deep at running back. Yeah. So give me Benson. Love the Cardinals playoff schedule. Trade Taylor. Is this Taylor and Garrett Wilson for Saquon? I mean, that's going to be the going rate. Is a running back, is an RB1 and a wide receiver one for the guy that has like potential overall RB1 upside. I mean, in a vacuum, I'd obviously rather have both of these guys. But I'd rather have Saquon well over both of these guys. I mean, sure. Yeah, I mean, if you're getting Saquon, you're obviously getting the best player in this deal, with a ridiculous amount of upside, overall RB1 upside. I would just be curious to know, who are your remaining wide receivers after doing this trade? I would want to know who the rest of your wide receivers are. because you're giving up Garrett Wilson, who has reemerged after a really, really slow, like dreadfully slow start to the season, has reminded us, yeah, he still can be a wide receiver one. Who are you left with at wide receiver if you trade Garrett Wilson? In a vacuum, I am okay with doing this to acquire Saquon, but I want to know that you have some solid wide receivers to turn to if you do trade Garrett Wilson. But in a vacuum, I would be okay with this. That's how good Saquon is, and we expect to be rest of season. Do we start Daniels tonight, or do you start Herbert against Cincinnati? It looks on paper better for Justin Herbert, but Jaden Daniels has been amazing. I don't think I can pivot off of Jaden Daniels even in a bad matchup. I don't think I can pivot off of Daniels. Even on the road against the Eagles, which doesn't look good, I would play Jaden Daniels and bank on the Konami code rushing upside that he brings to the table. Jaden Daniels has quickly become that type of player where he can eliminate bad matchups. He can overcome bad matchups. I would go Daniels. And you need to start one tight end, two running backs, and a flex. Who's playing the Rams? Hang on. The Patriots. Oh, that's Hunter Henry. Got it. Let's see. I would play Dobbins. I would play Dobbins. I would play Walker. I would definitely play Walker. The question is, do I prefer Jacobs to Dobbins? I mean, against the Bears, I don't think I do. I think I prefer Dobbins against the Bengals. So my two running backs will be Walker, even in a bad matchup against San Francisco. I would play Walker and I would play Dobbins. I would probably play Henry over Ferguson because I don't trust Ferguson. I would play Henry over Ferguson. I don't trust Ferguson without Dak. Yeah, I would play Hunter Henry. The question is your flex. I guess I would go Jacobs. Well, it's full PPR, so that puts McLaurin in play. I think I would still go Jacobs. I would go your running backs. I would go with your running backs. I would go Walker. I would go Jacobs. I would go Dobbins, two running backs in a flex, and I would go Hunter Henry over Ferguson at your tight end spot. Yep. I like Terry McLaurin tonight, but if I have bell cow running backs that I can play over him, even in full PPR, I think I'm okay with that. I think I'm okay with that. I'm getting a trade. We're working on some. I got a trade conversation as we speak. See where that lands. See where that lands. So yeah, play your three running backs, and I would play Hunter Henry. Let's see. Start one at wide receiver, two and one at the flex. Ridley, Downs, Myers, Waddle, Pierce, Oliver, Mondre. Ramondre. I was about to say smash those two wide receivers, Ridley and Myers, but Ramondre Stevenson throws a wrench into this. I would play Ramondre. I would probably play Ramondre and Ridley. Unless it's full PPR, then I would play probably both wide receivers. Although Ramondre does get the Rams, and they are a funnel. They're a run funnel. They're a pass funnel. They're all kinds. They're not a good defense. Although they've been a little bit better against the run the past few weeks. If it's full PPR, actually, I think my answer is the same regardless of if it's full or half PPR. Give me Ramondre and give me Calvin Ridley. I like Jacoby Myers, but I think Ridley is the superior talent. And with what he's done over the past couple of weeks, I think I'll go back to that well. Give me Ramondre and give me Ridley. I like Myers, but there's only room for two players, and I'll pick the starting running back and the guy with wide receiver one upside in Ridley. Waddle I don't trust. Downs I don't trust with Richardson back in. Pearsall I like, but we need to see a little bit more consistency from him before we fire him up over some of these other names. I did skip this question. Apologies. And then I see Nick sent a super. Appreciate it, Nick. I will get to that really quick, but I did skip this question. My apologies. So let me get to this really quick. Montgomery, Tillman, Ridley, probably Montgomery against Jacksonville. That matchup is so good. I expect Montgomery to put up big numbers against the Jacksonville Jaguars, especially with Sam Laporta out. Figure the running backs get even a few more opportunities in a game where Detroit will have a lead. I don't care. Jacksonville can try whatever they want. They're not going to beat the Detroit Lions, especially without Trevor Lawrence. I expect both running backs to be heavily involved. I would play, these are some really good players. It's a shame that you can't play more than one, assuming it's just one, but I would play David Montgomery. Gibbs and Montgomery are in line for some big games this week. Yep. Give me Montgomery. Apologies for skipping. Thank you for flagging that. Let me know if you need anything else. And Nick, thank you again for the super. Very kind of you. Appreciate that. We need to start 3 receivers between Devontae, Dell, Amon-Ra, and Reed. Well, Amon-Ra is a slam dunk. I would bench Waddle because I don't trust Waddle. I have no faith in Waddle right now. He has done since week 1. He has done absolutely nothing. Reed is in a tough matchup against the Bears. Dell is an intriguing matchup against the Cowboys. Smith is in an intriguing matchup tonight against Washington, where I do think he has a solid chance to come through. I think I would just play who I think the best 3 receivers are from this group, Nick. And that's Devontae Smith, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jaden Reed. With all due respect to Tank Dell and Jalen Waddle, Tank Dell's been decent, but he was kind of quiet last week. It's possible that with Nico Collins' return and with the Cowboys spiraling out, Dell isn't needed to do a whole lot for Houston in this game. And again, Waddle I just don't trust because he hasn't done anything since week 1, basically. I would play Devontae Smith tonight. I would play Amon-Ra because he's Amon-Ra. And I would play Jaden Reed even in a bad matchup because any given week, Jaden Reed can give you a spike week. Yeah, so plan to play Devontae Smith tonight. Plan to play Devontae Smith tonight, along with Amon-Ra and Jaden Reed. Appreciate the super, Nick. Thank you so much for the support. Let's see. Oh, I got Brad's questions. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not as big as on Mark Andrews and Hopkins for Bowers, and it looks pretty fair. It's not an unfair offer. I just like Bowers has been so damn good. And the number of weapons in the Raiders offense isn't anywhere close to the number of weapons in the Baltimore offense. All right, drop one. Waddle, Myers, or Brooks? Damn. Not Myers. I would want to know who the rest of your roster looks like. Like, are you deeper at wide receiver? Then this might be a scenario where Waddle is droppable. I don't advocate dropping Waddle, in every league, but if your specific situation, if you're deep at wide receiver and don't need him anymore, then you could drop Waddle to get the Packers. If you're loaded at running back, then maybe just drop Jonathan Brooks, who, it's going to be week 12 next week. They're on bye this week. Week 12, we're going 11 weeks. He hasn't played. I thought Jonathan Brooks we would have seen by now. Maybe not in a starting 1A role, but I thought he would have at least taken the field by now. I guess it'll happen after the bye week, but what's that going to look like now that Chuba Hubbard is locked into a new deal? So, not Myers. Keep Myers. He's been really good, and that shouldn't change after Devontae Adams got traded. If you're deep at wide receiver, you can pick up the Packers for Waddle. If you're deep at running back, you can pick up the Packers for Brooks. So it just depends on what you are stronger at. Would I trade McBride for Metcalf? Probably not. What would your backup plan be at tight end, and who are your current wide receivers? I don't mind trying to acquire Metcalf, and Seattle actually does have a decent fantasy playoff schedule. But if I'm giving up McBride, do I have to stream tight ends the rest of the way? Or am I really desperate at wide receiver? So maybe this makes sense. Or am I good at wide receiver? Therefore, maybe I shouldn't trade McBride. I would need a little bit more context here. And then if this is a different league where you don't, McBride is obviously, that's right, he's off this week because he's on bye. But Disley or Freiermuth? Disley is going to be the trendy pick after he had 5 catches last week. He's going to be ranked in the top 10, I would think, of most tight end rankings this week. Freiermuth, on the other hand, it's actually not a bad matchup by the numbers against Baltimore. Let me see. What has Freiermuth done recently? It's a good matchup. He was the tight end 8 last week because he caught a touchdown. Maybe Freiermuth. Everyone is, there's a lot of people who are bullish on Disley. The matchup is spectacular. But even after catching 5 passes for 30 yards, he was only the tight end 21 on the week. I know he's playing the Bengals, but Freiermuth has a good matchup too, and Freiermuth has done more than Disley. I'll say Disley. If you have Brandon Aubrey and that is your only kicker, it's risky, but I am okay with moving on from him. It's definitely risky because Aubrey is awesome. You pretty much just need to get him a little over midfield, and you're in field goal range. And you figure that the Cowboys offense is going to stall out a bunch with a backup quarterback. So he should have more opportunities in theory. But if the Cowboys are struggling to get the ball across midfield, which is totally possible on a consistent basis, then Aubrey's going to be rendered useless through no fault of his own. It's risky, but I am okay with moving on from Aubrey for somebody like Elliott or Moody. If you prefer Elliott tonight, because it's Thursday night, and kickers tend to kick a little bit more on average on Thursday nights, that's fine. If you prefer Moody, who was a slam dunk kicker one option, but prior to his absence from the injury, you could pick him up as well. I don't blame anybody wanting to move on from Brandon Aubrey. It's definitely risky, but I get it, and I'm okay with it. I get it, and I'm okay with it. Winston or Cousins? Cousins gets the Denver Broncos on the road. I would rather not play that. Winston gets a revenge game, right, against the New Orleans Saints in the Dome, and their defense is awful. I would play Winston over Cousins. Cousins is in a really bad spot. Really bad matchup. Denver defense is really good, and it's a road game for Cousins. It's a road game for Winston as well, but the Saints defense is awful, and it's a revenge game for Winston. He just spent 3 or 4 seasons with New Orleans prior to going to Cleveland. Yeah, I would play Winston. I would play Jameis. And then need 1 flex, 1 wide receiver. Stevenson, Pickens, Dobbs, or Tillman. Stevenson's got a great matchup this week against the LA Rams. They've been a little bit better recently, but Stevenson is a bell cow. What did he do against the Bears last week? That was a tough matchup, so I wouldn't be surprised if he did a whole 20 carries is a lot. 74 yards. Caught 1 ball for 3 yards. I mean, that's bell cow. That's bell cow. He had 15 opportunities total week 9. He had 23 week 8. He only had 10 in week 7. I don't remember what that was all about. I'll take Stevenson, and I'll take Pickens. Pickens has been unbelievable with Russell Wilson. I like Tillman a lot, too. Tillman's in a great matchup against the Saints, but I would say Stevenson and Pickens. Stevenson gets bell cow work, and Pickens has been an absolute stud since Russ entered the lineup. And then between Waddle, Elijah Moore, or Dobbs, is this how far we have fallen with Jalen Waddle? I do not, man. I just do not trust. I do not trust Jalen Waddle. I would play Dobbs. It's not a great matchup, but I trust the Packers offense. I guess I'll play Waddle over Elijah Moore. I guess I'll say Waddle and Dobbs. I don't feel great about it, but and I'm intrigued by Elijah Moore for the rest of the season. No Amari Cooper, elevated quarterback play going from Watson to Jameis, but I'm not quite there yet. I guess I'm not crazy about Waddle, but when the question is Waddle versus Elijah Moore, yeah, I guess I'll play Waddle, and I'll play Dobbs because I trust the Packers offense. Andrews or Hawkinson? I'll take Andrews. It's a really good matchup. Hawkinson, it's a tougher matchup against the Titans. I'll take Andrews. I'll take Andrews. And Hawkinson is rounding into form, but Andrews has already rounded back into form. He's been the tight end 3 or better 3 out of the past 5 weeks, and one of those other weeks, he was still the tight end 10. It's not the numbers. It's a less than ideal matchup against Pittsburgh, but it's not an awful matchup. It's not like a worst case scenario type of matchup. I'll take Andrews over Hawk. Kraft or Knox? I really like Dawson Knox this week. I don't know if I could play him over Tucker Kraft. I really like Knox this week as a streamer. I think I would go Kraft. Chicago's got a really good defense, but they actually do give up some production to opposing tight ends. I'll go Kraft. He's a regular starter for the Packers, whereas Knox is more of a streaming fill-in. So I'll give the love to Kraft. Brooks is not droppable yet. We've made it this we waited this long. He's on bye, so we knew we weren't going to have him this week anyway. I kind of want to wait one more week on Brooks, 1 or 2 more weeks on Brooks. Kincaid is approaching drop territory if you need the roster spot. He's probably not going to play this week. He hasn't had a great year. If you have Tucker Kraft, you can just move forward with him. Yeah, Kincaid is definitely approaching drop territory. It's been a disappointing season. Yep. Winston or Herbert. This is probably where I would go Herbert. I like Jameis this week in his revenge game scenario, but Herbert is playing really well right now, and the Bengals are an awful matchup, or they're an awful defense. And Herbert is just better than Jameis Winston. So, both are in good matchups, but then when two quarterbacks are in better matchups, it's just like, okay, well, can we definitively say that one is better than the other? And as much as I love Jameis Winston, Justin Herbert is better. So let's play Herbert. Do you trade Aaron Jones and Garrett Wilson for Puka and Chase Brown? I don't think I would do this. I don't think I would. If you are headed toward the playoffs, like if you're in good shape for the playoffs and you're trying to just get your roster ready for the fantasy postseason, I would not do this. Aaron Jones and Garrett Wilson have good fantasy playoff schedules. Puka and Chase Brown both have bad playoff schedules. So if this is a move for the rest of the season and you're in good shape for the fantasy playoffs and you're going to make it, it's just a matter of like when you clinch and what your seed is. If you're going to make it, I would hold the guys that you have because their playoff schedules are better than the guys that you would be acquiring. I would keep Aaron Jones and I would keep Garrett Wilson. I love Puka. I love Chase Brown. They're both really good. Their schedules for the fantasy playoffs are bad. They're bad. Especially Puka. I think Puka and Cooper Kupp have like the toughest playoff schedule for any starting wide receivers in the NFL. For fantasy, obviously. No, I would keep your players. I would keep the guys you have. Do you trade Kyren and Otten for Bijan? Yes. Yes, if you can make this happen, yes. You have Bowers, who's coming off of his bye week, so you're good. You're good there. You can just fire Bowers the rest of the year. Kyren has been great. He's got a brutal fantasy playoff schedule. Otten has been really good, but he's disposable if you have Bowers. Bijan Robinson has a spectacular fantasy playoff season. Fantasy playoff schedule. You will most likely make playoffs. You want a player like Bijan Robinson come playoff time. The Atlanta Falcons schedule from weeks 15 to 17 is amazing. It is spectacular, especially for Bijan. I would go one step further, and I would also do what you can. If you can make this happen, if you can get this deal done and you can get Bijan, I would take it a step further and do what you can to get Tyler Algier as well. Just secure the situation. Secure the Falcons backfield. If Algier is on a roster, throw a depth wide receiver out and see if you can get Algier after you acquire get Bijan first. But if you get Bijan, I would then subsequently also do what you can to grab Tyler Algier. The Atlanta Falcons have an amazing playoff schedule a fantasy playoff schedule, I want to acquire Atlanta Falcons players. Kyron and Otten for Bijan is the exact type of move that I can't recommend enough anybody do if you have a scenario where you can make that happen, especially since you have Bowers to move forward with your tight end as the rest of the year. Yes. Kyron and Otten, and you acquire Bijan? Yes. Yes. Do that. Do that trade. Kyron has a bad playoff schedule. The Rams have a bad playoff schedule. Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. Go look at their matchups weeks 15, 16, 17. Obviously, a lot can change between now and then. Injuries, all that good stuff. But right now, on paper, those guys it's not a good playoff schedule. I think they have Kansas City, Miami, and San Francisco, something like that. It's not good. It's not good. Start Jaden Daniels or Mahomes. Daniels. Patrick Mahomes is not playable in one quarterback leagues. He should be decent this week in a potential shootout against the Bills, but even in a bad matchup against the Eagles, I want to play Jaden Daniels. He's a Konami code. Let's bank on the rushing upside that Mahomes doesn't regularly provide the way that Daniels does. And Washington's offense is going to have to throw tonight. They're going to have to throw. They're not going to be able to just run with a lead. That's not likely going to happen. Even if they do have to have a lead, they're going to need to stay aggressive on the road. Daniels, even in a bad matchup, play Daniels. And I'm definitely playing Ladd McConkey over Noah Brown. Noah Brown is a depth receiver in an offense that's not in a great spot tonight against Philly. Ladd is in a great spot against a bad Bengals defense. Justin Herbert is playing some great football, and he clearly likes throwing the ball to Ladd McConkey. This is an excellent spot to play your Chargers wide receivers Sunday night against the Cincinnati Bengals. There should be some fireworks in that game. Ladd should be heavily involved. Ladd McConkey over Noah Brown for sure. For sure. And then between Taysom Hill and Gesicki, Gesicki gets the Chargers. Taysom Hill gets Cleveland. Neither are great matchups. I'm going to need to take a look at this one. Let's see. Gesicki gets a middle-of-the-pack Chargers. But it's a matchup against the Chargers. The Chargers are a good defense. It's a middle-of-the-pack matchup for opposing tight ends. Gesicki has three tight end 1 finishes this year. He has 1 tight end 2 finish, and then a bunch of tight end 3 finishes, which is not ideal. But he's attached to Joe Burrow, so he's in a good spot. Taysom Hill, similarly, not a great spot. Caught 2 balls for 36 yards last week. Also ran it 4 times for 14 yards. They are at home. It's not a great matchup. Cleveland is somewhat beatable on the ground. They're a middle-of-the-pack defense against the run. That matters for Taysom Hill. If it's PPR, I might say Gesicki, but if it's half PPR or standard, I might roll the dice with Taysom Hill because he'll line up everywhere. He'll line up at quarterback, he'll line up at running back, he'll line up at wide receiver, he'll line up at tight end. Gesicki is the floor play, and Taysom Hill is the boom bust play. Taysom Hill might be the tight end 5 on the week. He might also be the tight end 40 on the week. Gesicki probably lands somewhere between tight end 12 and tight end 20. So Gesicki is your floor play. Taysom Hill is your aggressive play, depending on what you need. Quarterback and tight end streams this week. Herbert for sure against the Cincinnati Bengals. Yep. That's a great spot. The Bengals offense is really good, so the Chargers are going to have to stay aggressive. And the Chargers the Bengals defense is really bad, so they shouldn't have a difficult time moving the ball at home and having success. So Herbert is looking good as a stream, and Goddard looks fine as a stream tonight. Should be able to give you somewhere around the tight end 8 to tight end 10 performance on the week. And again, there should be some fireworks in this game. If Goddard can get into the end zone, he'll be a tight end 1 on the week. And the Eagles' offense is one that you have faith in. So I would take Herbert. I would definitely take Goddard over Schultz. Schultz like lost multiple steps. He's so slow. I don't know what happened, but Dalton Schultz is slow as molasses now. I would take Goddard as a tight end stream tonight. Yeah, that's fine with me. Crumply Heads, you got your other rosters in the Discord, so I can take a look at those. We are at the end of the chat. So I'll keep it open in case anybody needs anything else for a bit here. Let me take a look at Crumply Heads. Let me take a look at your rosters. I'm doing this in Discord. So we're going to take care of this. If anybody needs anything else, just drop your questions and I will get to them. But I'm taking a look at Crumply Head's rosters first. Let's see what we got. Daniels tonight. Yep. Let's see. Jefferson, Boyd, Andrews, Collins, Conklin, Dobbs. I would probably get Rico Dowdle in there instead of Tyler Boyd. Crumply Heads in the one where you start Daniels and Stroud. I would get Rico Dowdle in there. I know the Cowboys offense isn't very, is tough to trust, but he's their bell cow. They're going to give him the ball. They confirmed it today. And running backs with volume can come through even on bad offenses. Tyler Boyd he's too deep of a dart throw at this point. I would play Dowdle over Boyd for sure. I would move Collins into your wide receiver spot. I would move Collins or Dobbs, doesn't matter. I would put Dobbs in the wide receiver spot and put Dowdle in the flex instead of Boyd. And then for your last one, you have Higgins on the bench. I mean, if Higgins plays, I would probably play him over somebody like Pearsall, but we're not going to know that until Sunday night. So yeah, this last roster, Crumply Heads, looks good. This last starting lineup looks good. But the second one, I would get Rico Dowdle in there. Second one, I would get Dowdle in. Wilson or London for the flex? Wilson. London's going to see Patrick Surtain this week on the road, so I'd rather not. I mean, if you can move off of London for somebody like Garrett Wilson, I would do that. The Jets have the Colts this week. That's a great matchup. London has the Broncos. That's a bad matchup. Yeah. Give me Garrett Wilson over London for sure for this week. Ladd over MVS. I'm not chasing MVS's 2 touchdowns from last week. It's a tougher matchup against Cleveland. McConkey has been good. The Chargers offense has been good. They're throwing the ball with success. Justin Herbert has been playing well recently. Give me Ladd McConkey over MVS for sure. Ladd for sure. Stevenson or Pickens? For this week, in full PPR, Pickens probably in half PPR Pickens as well. My answer is Pickens. George Pickens has been a wide receiver 1 since Russell Wilson was inserted into the starting lineup. I would go with Pickens. And Baltimore is an incredible matchup. They're getting cooked by everybody through the air. I would definitely play Pickens. Devontae Smith or London. I do not love London's matchup, but he is a wide receiver 1 receiving a wide receiver 1 target share. So I probably lean London. He's going to see Patrick Surtain, so it's tough to feel good about London this week. You have to lower expectations, but he's still going to see a first read target share that is really high. He's going to get a wide receiver 1 target share. Devontae Smith is more likely to see a wide receiver 2 target share, and while I like him at in this spot tonight against Washington, London has a little bit more guaranteed volume, so I'll take London. Yep. Ladd over MVS, Pickens over Stevenson, London over Devontae Smith to wrap up those last three questions there. I don't know if anybody needs anything else, but I'll stick around for a couple more minutes in case anybody does. I will also be live this weekend for any final start sit help that anybody may need. Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Open to everybody, open to the public. Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, that'll be a members-only stream. You do have to be a member to be eligible for Sunday morning chats for the rest of the year. You can join as a member at the lowest level. It's 99 cents a month. That gets you access to all of the Sunday streams, and it gets you priority responses to any questions that you may have. You'll jump the line by becoming a member of the channel and get your questions answered much faster than if you wait. Or if you don't. And it'll get you access to the Sunday morning stream. So I'll be live Saturday, Sunday to help out for any last-minute thoughts ahead of Week 11. I will likely be pretty unavailable next week, just as an FYI for everybody. I got family in town, so I'll be taking a bit of a break from streams this time next week. But I will be available in Discord. I'll be a little bit more active in Discord next week. If anybody needs anything, then you can get into the Discord if you're not already in there. Second link in the description of this live stream and all the videos and streams on the channel. Members will get faster responses, generally speaking, but if I'm unavailable or not as available for live streams next week, I will make sure that I'm available to everybody in general going into Week 12. I should be able to stream on Tuesday. I should be able to do the waiver wire show, and I can make it I can expand it to other questions as well. Tank Dell, still London. Tank Dell doesn't leapfrog these guys. Still London. London's got a bad matchup, but we're not taking him out of the lineup. For somebody like Garrett Wilson against the Colts, yeah, we'll take London out of our lineup. But in most other scenarios, London stays in the lineup even in a bad matchup. He'll get a wide receiver 1 target share, and you just hope for the best at that point. All right. I think that'll do it for me this evening. Obviously, best of luck to everybody who has who has skin in the game tonight. Hopefully things go your way, whether it's players for or against you. And appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out tonight. Appreciate everybody's patience as I work through these questions. Thank you for any new subscribers that I might have. I see that there are a few. Special shout out to my members, as always, helping with the support of the channel. I saw Crumply Heads. I don't know if I saw any other. Did I see any other members? I didn't see any other members in here tonight, just Crumply Heads, but that's perfectly fine. I did get a couple of supers, very generous donations. Appreciate the support of the channel. Tyler, Brad, Nick, thank you guys so much. And everybody, of course, again, for coming in and hanging out tonight. I will be live again Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Week 11 starts at helping to sort out your lineup and what we have to do with it ahead of the Week 11 slate. And again, 11 a.m. Eastern Sunday morning, I will be available. That is a members-only stream, member-only chats for Sunday mornings for the rest of the season. You can join as a member at the lowest level membership to get access to the Sunday morning streams. It's just 99 cents a month. I don't think I'm asking too much if you want to be a part of those Sunday morning streams. And again, priority access, priority responses to questions in all other streams as well. But that'll do it for me tonight. Best of luck. Enjoy the game. I'll see you guys on Saturday. Thanks, everybody.